nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First-rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Hello and welcome to an El Dia Después episode of the Managing Madrid Podcast. It is a new segment on the Managing Madrid Podcast this season where we unapologetically and shamelessly steal the name of another show and put it into our own podcast the day after Real Madrid plays. So we are here on a Monday, the day after Real Madrid tie Osasuna at home at the Bernabeu 1-1. And joining me on this segment, as usual, is Lucas Navarrete. Lucas, how you doing?
Hey, Kiyan, I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me as always.
We're going to talk about Real Madrid. That's what the people want. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, Lucas. Some people, I feel like games like last night are the ones where it's tough to appeal to everyone and make everyone happy, because a lot of people wanted us to be more critical and other people wanted us to be more understanding of, the fact that Real Madrid finally dropped points. And, I think, generally speaking, I think we do a pretty good job of providing objective analysis, just analyzing what happened. That's it. Like, without even really adding too much opinion to it, just analyzing what happened. And I think Matt and I outlined everything we could in the most fair way, in the most nuanced way, and that this was a poor performance. A lot of players played poorly. Osasuna defended well. We also probably would have won this game normally because Benzema probably scores that penalty or takes another chance that he would have scored last season. One of our other chances goes in. Osasuna didn't do much on the offensive end. The Kike goal was a freak goal. We played bad. It was also international break, so we take that into consideration. This is the first time we've dropped points all season. I feel like it's just a bit of everything, and there's no like black and white way of looking at this. Like, we were bad, it was terrible, or we were great. Like, there's no real reason to make excuses, nor is there any real reason to just ignore some of the challenges that were present in this game. It wasn't good. It was poor. Should have won it, regardless if we were missing Modric or not. And international break was there. I think a lot of these things can be true, but I'm curious to know where you stand on it, and maybe you're more critical or more understanding. I don't know where you stand on the spectrum.
I'm quite critical about the performance. I think that it was, as you mentioned, quite poor overall. I think that some players got a big chance to prove their worth and to potentially gain and compete for more minutes last night, and they didn't deliver. I don't think, for example, that Ceballos quite delivered. I think that he had a chance here to establish himself as a quality starter quality reserve for Real Madrid and potential starter in many league games from now on. To me, he was quite disappointing. Same could be said about Rodrigo on the right wing. I'm still getting these mixed performances from him. He was great at the derby on the center of the attack, and last night he was pretty much invisible on the right wing, which is where you want him to perform, obviously, because that's where you need him most. And obviously Benzema, Real Madrid are missing Benzema a lot. I think that quality Benzema, I'm not talking, I'm obviously aware of the fact that he played, but this is your version of Real Madrid when Benzema is not at a high level. I don't think he was at a high level last night, and Real Madrid will be in trouble if Benzema can't pick it up ahead of the World Cup. I think it's time to ask ourselves whether or not is it time to be a little bit concerned about Benzema's form so far this season. I know that he obviously deserves the patience and the benefit of the doubt. This was obviously his first game after missing the last month or so of games, but I think Real Madrid will be in trouble just because of the fact that they don't have a quality replacement for him.
A lot of things there. I'm personally not worried about Benzema. Admittedly, before the season even started and we didn't even know that he was going to be off form, I had mentally prepared myself that after the World Cup, we would be faced with people who are going to drop their form. So I guess it's a little bit concerning in the sense that I didn't expect him to also be off form and injured before the World Cup. But having said that, I'm still not worried about him. I think what happened the beginning of the season until the Celtic game, okay, it happened. We analyzed it. I wasn't worried about him then because my feeling was that he was so involved, he was just missing chances, and eventually those chances would fall. Maybe there was some link-up stuff that wasn't as sharp as last season as well, to be fair, but I still wasn't worried about him. And then this game in particular, I think it was also a matter of his first game back. I said this last night, and I can't prove it, but I think there's at least some intangible evidence, if you want to call it that there was probably some psychological factors with Sergio Herrera and that penalty last night. Take it for what you will, but he did score an offside goal later. But maybe the penalty was more in his head. He also missed a great chance later in the game in the 93rd minute, I think it was. But I'm still not worried about him because he's not being shy about the whole thing, and I think the rest will come. And I also, to your question or point or concern about certain players maybe not taking the game by the scruff of the neck and establishing themselves like Ceballos, I think a theme with Real Madrid is that a lot of the starters, whatever game it is, they tend to struggle in games. Mm-hmm. Because they're facing a low block and it's hard to break that. In the second half, the subs who come in tend to favor it because of the game state. And it doesn't seem to matter who starts or comes off the bench. It seems to be like this is the universal case with Real Madrid. Maybe if Ceballos comes off the bench yesterday, he's better or whatnot. That's not like...
As Camavinga was.
Camavinga was good
last night, for example.
Couple brilliant passes, especially that one to Benzema in the box that led to the penalty. Having said that, it's not like a foolproof logical explanation because Cruz I thought was pretty good as a starter, right? And I thought Ceballos wasn't too bad. He played a couple of nice vertical passes. I don't really think anyone was that good though. So, Tchouaméni was another one that was a mixed bag. Did some good things and some bad things. And so, I guess it's just like when I look at these games, Lucas, I always try to put myself mentally in April. I just asked the question, how much does this game matter? Because I already forget about all of the bad games we had in the start of last season. Because by the time the season ended, we won the double. And it's always just a reminder of it doesn't matter that much right now what happens. I mean, obviously it does because we're tied with Barcelona and every point counts. Of course that matters. But I'm just who knows how much this actually matters. And because I personally believe in the team's mentality. I think we owe it to them.
Yeah, but the concern about Barcelona being a lot better than they were last season is there.
Yes.
Maybe they're not better, not that much better in terms of their playing style and their entertainment aspect of the game. I thought they were quite mediocre against Mallorca the other night, but obviously they got the win because they have Lewandowski this season. Yeah. So that's a big reason why. And ultimately, the fact that Real Madrid dropped points last night makes the upcoming El Clásico much more important because obviously you want to take advantage of the home field factor there and the fact of the matter that the game is played at the Bernabeu and you don't want to draw or lose that game just in case that you might lose El Clásico at the Camp Nou, so you want to even those things and at least get the win in at the Bernabeu. So it would have, not dropping points last night would have taken a bit more pressure off Madrid's back in the upcoming Clásico, and I think these games are the ones you have to win when the race for the title is expected to be as close as it is this season, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the part that actually worries me more about Real Madrid themselves. I believe in their mentality to bounce back and finish and have a strong season. But it is absolutely true that the margin of error this year is much, much thinner. Barca are better. And as you mentioned, there's going to be games that Barca don't play well. There's plenty of them. But they have something that they haven't had since Messi left, and that they have a superstar now to save them. And I mean, his Lewandowski's goals. I literally tuned into that Barca game in real time, and as I turned it on, Lewandowski did that insane goal. It was a moment of genius, and so they have that now, and they will have that against us, and we can analyze that. But what else from the game? Because I know we also want to talk about Courtois and stuff. What else from the game stood out to you?
You mentioned Tchouaméni. It was his worst game as a Real Madrid player by far, even worse than his debut, which was a bit concerning, and at least for me. But definitely last night wasn't brilliant. But these games happen, and ultimately I think that Real Madrid ended up missing some intensity from the get-go. I thought they took Osasuna a bit lightly, and I think the optimistic and the optimistic analysis that tend to focus a lot on the silver linings, saying that Real Madrid didn't win because Benzema missed the penalty. Obviously, that's accurate and all that, but I thought Real Madrid didn't create many chances themselves. I thought that obviously the first goal was not intentional in the sense that Vinicius was not trying to score in that position. I think we can all agree that was cross. It's also a questionable decision by the referee. We can discuss that. I personally think that if Rudiger is erased from that play, the goalkeeper would have saved that ball. So if you take a look at that play with this particular point of view, and Rudiger being offside, I thought that the referee had a case to call that goal off and call it offsides. I thought personally it was. It's my subjective point of view anyway. But again, I thought it was quite a poor performance and not the brightest way to start what's going to be a very busy month of October. We could all see Real Madrid dropping points. I mean, it's clear that Real Madrid were not going to win every single game this season, but Osasuna at home, those are the ones who have to take care of business, I think.
Well, these games exist every single year, no matter how good we are or
sure.
how bad we are. I also think, and I think your assessment of the goal being offside is not incorrect. And you mentioned it's subjective. Certainly, like by the rules of the game, if you look at the rule book, if you interfere in the line of sight with the goalkeeper or the opponent in an offside position, it is offside. And there's definitely for sure one angle I thought that proved that was he was interfering.
And Kiyan, not only his line of sight, I don't think Rudiger stood in the path of the ball towards the goalkeeper. I don't think it's that case. But, his intent to go in after the ball is what makes the goalkeeper confused and ultimately makes the goalkeeper miss the ball and miss the save overall. I think that's the most important thing to analyze in this particular play. I think that, again, if you erase Rudiger completely from that play, I think the goalkeeper saves the ball, and that means that the play should have called offsides, in my opinion, because Rudiger was offsides and he was interfering with play. Not because he was specifically in the line of sight between the ball and the goalkeeper, but because he tried to go after the ball and his position got the goalkeeper close.
So if you exclude the goal, like let's say it didn't count, or if it didn't go in, it didn't count, whatever. So both the Vinicius goal and the Kike goal were both exactly 0.02 xG. In other words, basically they were kind of freak goals that normally wouldn't have existed. And if you exclude Benzema's penalty, the xG I think in this game for Real Madrid was like 1.7 or something like that. It came down to two to three chances that were really good, and one of them was the Rudiger header from a Cruz set piece. The other one was Benzema's header in the 93rd minute, and the other one was Mariano. I think it was, yeah. And then in addition to that, there was a bunch of crosses that Carvajal specifically I thought put in well, but we couldn't capitalize on. And I also think this might sound weird to say, but I actually think Osasuna are a more difficult matchup for us than like Atletico Madrid. I guess this might come down as like, oh, Kiyan's making excuses. Like, there's no way Osasuna are better than Atletico. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying with the way Atletico played us at the Metropolitano was like a suicide mission. They basically rolled out a red carpet for Vinicius and Rodrigo and Fede Valverde and gave them a ton of space to run into. And Osasuna did not allow that. So naturally what I'm saying is it's just more difficult to break down a low block. And it has been with Real Madrid for quite some time. Quite frankly, I think it's a difficult thing to do for most teams, even if you're a big team. And so that, I think Ancelotti's plan at the end was just, let's just cross and see what happens. Zidane style, like send Ramos up, send Casemiro up. In this case, it was send Mariano in, put 6 strikers, which I'm still not convinced was the best decision, but he did what he did. So I think it's combination of it was a low block. Vinicius and Rodrigo didn't look that sharp. Vinicius looked a little bit better later in the game. Rodrigo tried to do things. He did some good things. Ultimately, he was burned defensively once or twice, and he also got the better of Juan Cruz once or twice, but also Juan Cruz dispossessed him once or twice. It was just kind of a mixed bag from a lot of key players. And I think also the other thing, Matt and I mentioned this last night, Fede Valverde is sometimes a game changer in these moments, but last night he was in a double pivot with Camavinga and basically had 6 attackers in front of him, and he can't really influence the game from that position. You might as well keep Cruz in there, who was playing well, to play quarterback. Yeah. So,
I agree.
Do you want to talk about Courtois?
Yeah, it's something we should cover. So, club sources, when I asked them about Courtois and how he was feeling, and after seeing that he was not he was not involved in today's training session, they told me and the rest of the Spanish press that Courtois is out indefinitely with this back problem. It's not an injury per se. It's more of a condition. It's just pain on his back. I don't know how to translate it specifically. It's just, but he won't be back until the pain is gone, and doctors don't even know when that will happen. Obviously, there's reason for concern in that particular report, because it could be, the pain could disappear in 3 months' time. But there's an optimistic way to look at it, which is that maybe the pain with the treatment that Real Madrid players usually get, maybe the pain will be gone in 1 week or in 3 days even. But in the meantime, Lunin will be in charge of the goalkeeper spot, and there's a fairly big chance that Courtois misses El Clásico and a few more games, I think.
Obviously that's terrible news. I don't know if there's any way to spin it. I don't know if there's any silver lining. Like sometimes I say, there's silver lining maybe in a young player has to come, but I would be lying if I said I truly believe that Lunin would all of a sudden step up in this situation, although he's very talented. But I would be lying if I say I wasn't worried about, where he is right now in his development curve and the important stretch of games that come up. So where do you stand on that?
I agree with you. I'm not sure, and I'm not confident about Lunin's chances of being up to the task of being Real Madrid's main goalkeeper in a month or in 2 months straight. I believe he could do a good job in games like the Copa del Rey games, where the ultimate result, the ultimate score don't matter as much. But these are big Champions League games. He's going to have to play, and potentially also El Clásico, Sevilla, and all that. And I'm not sure if Lunin will be able to fill Courtois. Well, he won't be able to fill Courtois' shoes because Courtois is the world's best goalkeeper. But I'm not sure if he will be able to be just up to the task and be a better than average goalkeeper for Real Madrid in the meantime while Courtois is out. Let's hope that he is. He was obviously a very interesting prospect for Real Madrid, and that's why Real Madrid signed him. And that's also why Real Madrid kept him during this last few seasons when they could have sent him on loan and all that. Obviously, the talent is there, but you need something more than talent to succeed at a club like Real Madrid. You need experience, you need composure, you need cold blood, you need all of those things that we still don't know if Lunin has them, and hopefully he does. But Courtois' shoes are definitely big shoes to fill.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's see, because I don't mean to make an unfair analysis on Lunin, because quite frankly, it's more just like ignorance for me that I don't know how he's going to cope with this. My hope is that he proves all of our doubts wrong, and he just does amazing, and all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, we didn't know you were this good. Like the reality is, I think a lot of people who believe in him, how much have they actually watched him play? I think the answer is not much. No matter, even if you come at me and say, I've been following Lunin, for instance, blah, 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 like this many years, like he literally has not played football for a couple years. Even at Real Oviedo, he was a little bit of a mixed bag. So we'll see. He was, I think, impressive last season when he played towards the end of the season, when we were playing some of the bench guys like Vallejo and Lunin and all those guys, Ceballos. I thought he was impressive then, at least. So let's see. I think it's a bit of an unknown. I'm curious to see how he deals with it mentally, because I think that's probably going to be his biggest challenge, is how much he can cope with the pressure right now. So this is not a pressure-free situation.
Right, and it's also a tough time for him personally. You have to wonder because of the war in Ukraine and all that. So let's just hope that his head is in the right place and he can focus on football. And obviously, we don't know about his family and how everything is in Ukraine personally for him, but it's definitely you have to wonder that it's. I had to guess and to acknowledge the fact that it's obviously a tough time for him personally. So let's hope that this doesn't affect him during the next couple of weeks, couple of months. Hopefully not months, but weeks.
Hopefully just weeks. Any parting thoughts?
No, we don't. Not really. Just Real Madrid don't have any time to regroup or gather themselves to bounce back. They have an opportunity to do so on Wednesday against Shakhtar. Modric is back. Lucas Vázquez is back also. I'm not sure if Ancelotti will want to use them as starters right away, considering that they have recovered from muscle injuries. But it's that time of the year where Real Madrid just have to focus and grind everything in order to win as many points as they can, both in the Champions League and La Liga. And don't take the Champions League for granted, because it will be huge to have the first spot in the group clinched at least 2 games before the group stage ends, so that you can focus in La Liga and make some rotations in the Champions League. I think Real Madrid would make a huge mistake if they were to take the Champions League group stage lightly, just because they are the favorites to advance. I don't think they should leave that for the last match of the group stage. I think the sooner they can take care of business in the Champions League, the better.
Speaking of the Champions League, on Wednesday night, we are doing a show exclusively for patrons over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid. So if you want to join us on the podcast on Zoom an hour after the game, and also get access to the podcast itself after the recording, then go to patreon.com/Managing Madrid. We're doing a show tomorrow night, Wednesday, and then also Thursday, because Lucas and I will be back to answer Real Madrid questions on the mailbag. So that's over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid. And of course, if you're going to be in Madrid for El Clasico weekend, make sure you sign up and book your spot, because we're doing a preview show in Madrid in person. Lucas, thanks for your time. Good luck on the Nuggets this season.
Thank you, Kiyan. Hopefully.
May it start with a bang tomorrow night, and we'll catch you on Thursday. Thanks, Lucas.
Thank you. You too.
All right, guys, you know the drill. Before we wrap it up and send you along on your way, we want to give a shout out to our patrons over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid, specifically these $10 plus patrons, because if you pledge $10 or more, you get a specific shout out on the podcast, in addition to getting guaranteed responses to your questions. So shout out to Brandon Alvarez, Willie Reed, Will Sousa, Way Pairing, Wamik Jamal, Tobias Arroyo Botcher, Tarek Goktas, Talib Salhab, Tahmid Kalam, Sushank Damala, Sujai Wani, Sumanchu Singh, Sheikh Atiri, Shamil, Shabazz Sharapov, Sergio Arispe, Santos Solorzano, Samuli Justin, Samer Z, Said Mahad, Sai Mohan, Sasi Kumar, Rodrigo Balmaceda, Rishi D, Phoenix, Peter Powell, Paulo Fierro, Patrick Diafari, Oscar Barrera, Nico Laxo, Nicolas Zapatero Zubiare, Nicholas Moeller, Nick Ribeiro, Mowgli, MJ Diego, Martin Ridman, Michael Zinberg, Marin Myrtle, Matthew Atkins, Magnus Lex, Logan Stahl, Leon Stavronakis, Kunal Tilakar, Crystal Glass, Kevin Rivera, Jose Cruz, John Fernandez, Jeff Thurston, Jason Fitz, Ian Marley, Graham Gerard, Gary Kohut, Frederick Rantakiro, Frederick Sundros, Faisal Hamdan, S.A. Davisito, Eloy Enriquez, Edward Sossman, Daniel Williams, Con P, Christian Toft, Christian Acosta, Charles Williams, Brendan Powers, Brandon Stevens, Ashik Bashar, Armand Gashi, Armando L, Antons Rudenko, Ananya Kumar, Anirudh Singh, Alex Steiberg, Al, Azaz Hussein, Adrian Rios, Adar Zalikovic, Adam Dorsey, Bella Chow, Varun Ramtin Maghrur, Fabian Moreno, and Daniel Smith. We love you guys so much. Thanks for your support. Thanks for being part of the family. We'll see you tomorrow night over on patreon.com/managingmadrid for Tuesday Tapas, and Hala Madrid.